organization. All these institutions were not created for pro-Africanism. These were created for the Europeans. You know what I'm saying? So we are asking for a seat in that form of a setting. So another one also was President Ramaphosa, President Cyril Ramaphosa. He also had some things to say, at this summit, and let's just hear what President Ramaphosa was saying.
We need to burn the candle on both sides, so that's important, so that's agreed. And we all recognize and accept that we need capital at scale to address the key challenges that many countries in the world face, particularly the developing economy countries.
It's not a secret. To solve a lot of our crises, a lot of our challenges, we need money. We need money, like lots of money. You know what I'm saying? Lots of money to, infrastructure, to alleviate poverty, to promote growth in our economy. You know what I'm saying? We need money. We need finance. So President Ramaphosa starts with that one.
The developing economy countries. And we also would be agreed that there needs to be more cooperation and coordination between your development banks, multilateral development banks, and the private sector. There needs to be coordination so that there is no fragmentation, which you kept talking about. But I think what is important to many of us is that there should be solid consensus on the reform of the financial architecture of the world.
Reform of the global financial architecture. The World Bank was created by Europeans in 1945. Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa is expecting them to take Africans as equals. That's reaching. That's very ambitious, and I do not see that happening. Unfortunately, I do not see that one happening.
Because without that reform, the dreams and the objectives that we have to address our challenges will not be realized. And those reforms need to touch on a whole range of issues. Mr. Mo Ibrahim yesterday even spoke about something that we may think is insignificant, that the boards of directors of your multilateral institutions are not made up of independent directors. They are largely internal people or shareholders. So that in itself, for us, it's an important reform. We also need to look at the distribution of the special drawing rights.
Special drawing rights, that's like how much you can borrow. Is like a slip, like this is how much you can take, this is how much you can use, what I'm saying, from the World Bank. The reforming of the global financial structure is a reaching, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. The best thing we can do is to create our own financial system, our own African financial system. That is the only solution, because these people, these multilateral institutions, what are they? This is the World Bank, this is the World Health Organization, this is the World Trade Organization. All these institutions were not created for pro-Africanism. These were created for the Europeans. You know what I'm saying? So we are asking for a seat in that form of a setting. I don't see that. I don't see that, Mr. President.
I find it a bit difficult to be told that this is set in the rules and it will forever be like that, and that it's either you get 0 or you get 34 billion. In our view, this is not a zero-sum game. It's a game where we all need to be dealt with equity in an equitable manner. And there is a need for reform in that regard as well. And the other important thing for this to happen it will help us not to participate as unequal cousins in these institutions. It will help us to participate fully, and so that we don't have a sense that we are beggars, that we are being dealt with out of generosity.
We need to grow out of that, from that ideology that we are beggars. We literally need to grow out of it. They're not gonna lift us out of it. We need to grow out of it ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We need to start building our own Wakanda on ourselves economically. Financially is economically, but as a people, we need to unite. We need to unite. So Mr. Ramaphosa was also flexing on how he's saying that Africa has grown. You know what I'm saying? He was talking about how how they went to Russia, and actually let's just hear that.
You know, recently 7 African countries decided to go and put a call for peace to Ukraine and to Russia. And we raised a number of issues. Zambia was represented, Comoros was represented, Republic of Congo was represented, Senegal was represented, Uganda, as well as South Africa. So we were all represented, and Egypt as well. So we were all at one, that even as we were going to address an issue of the war which has had a negative impact on the African continent, which is the rise in prices for food, rise in prices for fertilizers, we were clear that we are not going there as beggars. We are not going to ask for a favor to both Ukraine and Russia. We were going there to say, open up the Black Sea Channel so that the grains and the fertilizers should go into the world market.
Yeah, man. President Ramaphosa is letting them know that we literally went to Russia and we told Putin, and you, Ukraine president, open the Black Sea right now. Okay, open it. It's so strange though that a war in Russia is affecting our food prices and our fuel prices. It's so strange because we got everything in Africa. We got oil in East Africa. I mean, Nigeria is like, there's a lot of oil there. Food, we here in the southern of Africa, we grow our own maize. We don't lack nothing, but we still have a situation where a war in the far reach there in Europe is affecting our food prices. You see, this is really what I talk about when I say Africa, we really need to be independent and stop really relying on these European superpowers. They take Africa as a business. They take from us. They are not here to give us. They take from us and enrich themselves. That is the law. We need to forget that these people are thinking for us. So Mr. Ramaphosa here, Mr. President Cyril, he was saying that we went to Russia and we told them, we didn't ask them, we told them. You know what I'm saying?
In great need as a continent and all that. That should go to demonstrate that Africa should never be seen as a continent that needs generosity. We want to be treated as equals. Even in the multilateral institutions, we want to be treated as equals.
Those multilateral institutions, let's forget about them. How can Africa be involved in the World Bank, where a lot of money that is owing the bank is from the developing countries, which is mostly Africa, which is most of their, let's go to World Health Organization, most of their things, all of those AIDS medicines, malaria, all of those things, they come to Africa. That is where they make most of their monies. Okay, and let's go to World Trade Organization. They control the whole. If Africa starts to trade wildly, they don't have control. They're gonna lose their monies. So those are the multilateral institutions Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa is talking about, and he's saying that they should treat us fairly. Let's forget about that. To be honest, that will never happen. They are laughing right now when they hear such things, because they know that this is our bread and butter, bro. This is our bread and butter. Another issue that Mr. Cyril is going to talk about here is the issue of COVID. I mean, we all know COVID, the pandemic, it hits the whole world hard. So did it hit Africa. You know what I'm saying? So Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa had some things to say, which I think you're going to find very interesting.
The US has also done a number of things. But there have been times when we felt like we were beggars. I played a key role as chair of the African Union during the COVID period. We felt like we were beggars when it came to vaccine availability, when we felt we needed access to vaccines, and the Northern Hemisphere countries had bought all the vaccines in the world, and they were hogging them.
Can you believe that? They bought all the vaccines in the world and then they were hogging them. They were literally saying, this is ours. Well, other people were dying and people were losing their loved ones. They say they care, right? But they're just holding them. So unfair. Now listen to what he says when he say we even try to manufacture our own vaccines. Listen to what the World TO says. This is the World Trade Organization. Listen to what they says.
And they didn't want to release them at the time when we needed them most. And we felt like we were begging. And at times it felt like they would just be droppings from the table. That yes, we will give you that and that.
Africa, do you hear that, man? All your grandparents, your dad, your cousins, your mothers, your fathers were dying. But do you blame them though? They were trying to look after their own interests. That's why I say we, as Africans, we need to look after our own interests.
Let me tell you something that generated a lot of resentment. We resented that, and it got worse when we said we want to manufacture our own vaccines. And when we went to the WTO, there was a lot of resistance.
There was a lot of resistance. I'm sure you remember, I think it was in Madagascar or something, where they come up with some traditional way of healing COVID, and it was working, and we were all crying like, why are we not doing our own vaccines? You know what I'm saying? But it seems like there was a blockage from that. There was a resistance from the World Trade Organization, the WTO. These people were blocking that. Why? Because they know that they're not gonna make money. It's a business. Africa is a business for them.
Enormous resistance. And we kept saying, what is more important, life or profits by your big pharmaceutical companies? And that too, I must tell you now, generated and deepened that disappointment and resentment on our part, because we felt like life in the Northern Hemisphere is much more important than life in the global South. And these are issues that need to be addressed. And I'm glad that we are all seated here like this.
We need to look out for ourselves, Mr. President.
We are all seated here like this because we've got to get to the heart of these matters and address them. Now, I come to promises that have been made. And
so, moving on from the COVID issue, he said before, I think it was in 2015 on the previous on their previous meetings, they agreed that there was going to be 100 billion distributed to developing countries, and that I'm sure that money was never seen. So now they are saying that those promises, they need to be followed up, and this is what Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa suggests that should be done, so that in the future such things will not happen. And this is the things that they need to do to know that when they attend these meetings, they are actually fruitful. You know what I'm saying? Of course, they do not care about us, bro. They don't. This is just business for them.
President Sassou Nguesso raised it yesterday. He said he would be happy if, flowing from this summit, we do something very practical on the infrastructure side. Having said that 600 million people in Africa do not have electricity, and yet we've got all the resources to generate electricity, particularly the mighty Congo River, and that there have been plans to build a number of power stations that will generate, in my calculation, up to 70,000 megawatts.
We have the resources, we have everything. Bro, how many times have we heard those words? We have gold, we have platinum, we have lithium, we have what, and we also have water. We have, we can generate our own electricity, but I'm sure more than half of Africans, they're living in the dark.
Up to 70,000 megawatts. And he said, and I want to speak in support of this proposal, that to prove that these summits are not summits where we just talk, flowing from the Paris COP as well as others, let us now put money on the table and collectively say we are going to address this mega project. A mega project which will in the end generate electricity for up to 12, 15 African countries all at one go. And this is a project that I think the multilateral development banks here working together, the call that you've made, President Macron, can actually fund. And where, as we rise from this, we should be able to say the Inga Dam is now going to be developed into the Inga Power Station, the one that President Sassou Nguesso mentioned, and the next one as well. If we can do that, then we as Africans will now be convinced that these summits are really meaningful. We will now go home and say, you know what, it's worthwhile going to these summits, coming to Europe, and to listen to all the promises because they are willing to act on the promises.
Are they really meaningful, these summits, bro? I don't think so. But let's hope that they do actually go through this Inga Dam power station. I mean, how wonderful would that be? You know what I'm saying?
Promises. This is what President Macron, I believe, will be one of the most important outcomes. The reform of the financial architecture, as well as a practical project, infrastructure project that is going to add a lot of value. President Sisi and I have been talking about a railway from Cape Town to Cairo for years. We will leave that for the next summit, but the one on generating electricity and building power stations on the Inga Dam is the most important, that is immediate, that I believe needs to be addressed now. Let's get that done, and then we will be convinced that you are serious with the promises that you make. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I think you hate it, bro. And tell me what you think about the whole thing, about the new global financing pact. Do you think these summits, they produce anything? And do you agree with me when I say that Africa, we need to stand on our own? There's no way we can go back to the people who were really degrading us and go back to them and say, include us in your schemings. I don't think that's going to work. We need to be independent as Africans because we can do it, bro. Africans are beautiful, smart, talented, capable, intelligent, and really strong, bro. I've worked with some really strong fellas, bro. Strong men, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about mentally, physically, dog. You know what I'm saying? And also spiritually, you know what I'm saying? So there's nothing we lack, bro. There's nothing we lack. I think like the resistance that President Cyril Ramaphosa was talking about, that he faced from the WTO. That is the kind of resistance that we need to shift away from. Let's create our own structures. Let's create our own systems. And I do believe that time and age is coming. So let's all keep connected. Africa, let's get used to each other and let's love each other. And the first part is love, bro, and then the rest will happen. You know what it is, fam. It's the bro show. So love from the marsh. Peace.